Why was Persian the official language of the Mughal court when they were Turks? Well, that's a good question. It's a question I've taken a few years ago, but why not take it again? It's been a while. So yes, the Mughals were Turks, right? Babur was a failed Turkic prince who was born in Andijan in Uzbekistan, present day Uzbekistan, and he came to India looking for some land to grab. And because of the circumstances in India at the time, he was able to establish a small little kingdom there. Babur, his son was the incredibly incompetent Humayun. Okay, so Humayun was the second in the line. Babur was the first who established what would eventually be called the Mughal Empire, and Humayun was the second. Humayun was incredibly incompetent. He was an absolute loser, and very soon he found that his kingdom was taken over by an Afghan, by a native who was not a Turk, who was local, whose name was Sher Shah Suri. So he loses his father's throne, and he is in exile running around. His wife delivers a child in the court, in the house of a Rajput chieftain. The child's name was Jalaluddin, later known as Akbar. And eventually he has to go to Kabul, he has to go to Kandahar, and from there he has to go to Persia because he's being pursued by the forces of Sher Shah Suri. So Humayun had to take refuge in the court of Tahmasp, Shah Tahmasp of Iran. And Shah Tahmasp welcomed him with hospitality and treated him kindly and pretty well, treated him like a king and so on. And Humayun, there's this famous painting of Humayun and Tahmasp. Uh, let's find it, right, in which Humayun is shown as a supplicant with his arms out, like with his hands out like this. Let's quickly look at it. Okay, very interesting, very very good painting. Tahmasp and Humayun, and and Huma, Humayun. All right, let's take a look at this. Shah Tahmasp and Humayun. Take a look. So if I can make this larger, give me a second. Let's remove that and let's find Humayun. Where is Humayun? Let's go to the. As always, Wikipedia is not a good source of information, not necessarily, but let's find this. There we have it. Let's enlarge this. So if you look at Humayun's hands, you will see that they are in the begging posture, right? So Humayun had to go as a supplicant to the court of Tahmasp, and Tahmasp said, "Okay, I'll help you. I'll give you soldiers. I'll give you men. I'll help you reconquer the kingdom you lost. But you have to do me a favor. You have to convert to Shia Islam." So Humayun was Sunni. The Persians, the Iranians were Shia, and so Humayun was kind of forced into becoming Shia. And then he comes back to India, and the condition was Tahmasp imposed one condition, that I will help you reconquer the land you lost, the kingdom you lost, but you have to give me was it Herat, was it Kandahar, was it Kabul? It was not Kabul. It was probably Herat or Kandahar, that part of his kingdom, which is now currently Afghanistan. So that was a deal. So Humayun comes back with an army given by Tahmasp, and slowly he's able to reconquer parts of the kingdom. And then Sher Shah Suri was experimenting with gunpowder, and he blew himself up. So he died a stupid death, and that would obviously have helped Humayun a lot. And eventually, he was able to reconquer Delhi and sit in his father's throne again. So then he finds that he again has a kingdom, but his entire staff is Persian. And that's how Persian became the court language of the Mughal court. Essentially, in brief. So he came with a bunch of officials and bureaucrats and administrators and soldiers. So they formed the nucleus of his new kingdom. And that's why everything was done in Persian thereafter. And when he went to Persia, Humayun was like very, very impressed with all the Persian architecture and all that. So he came back with a very favorable impression of the Persian culture and all that. So he was happy to have Persian as the court language. That's how it happened. So before this, the court language of the Mughals was Chagatai.